I said I want to talk about DevOps, and I'm very happy to be here again. I haven't been here for a while. And the reason I'm talking about DevOps is because this is the DevOps meeting. Yeah, no kidding. So what is DevOps? I realized that DevOps is probably not really well defined. So here comes my definition, just for starters. And I'm not reading the slides, that's something you can do yourself. It's more something, please note that the word DevOps does not appear in the definition. So how many people have seen DevOps definitions that use the word DevOps in the definition? And it doesn't work, of course, right? You can't say blue is blue because it's blue. So DevOps is actually, in my opinion, the result of all these things that you are probably doing or that you want to be doing. And I really try to have this discussion as many times as I can. Please listen up, people. DevOps is a result. It's not a process. It's not a tool. It's not something you can buy. It's not something you can install. It's not something you can order as a manager. It's just something you have to do. And it's not a job description. Oh yes, don't start me on that. So this is really bleeding edge. I actually wrote that in German. I'm not yet happy with the translation. So those of you who speak German, please be so kind and help me to improve the translation. So let's say we do DevOps. How do you measure that? Who here is actually trying to measure DevOps? Bit, right? Why don't you measure it? How do you know if you're successful? Does it matter if you're successful? No, it doesn't matter. Yes, please. Why doesn't it matter?
You're printing money every day.
Ah, okay.
There is no sorry.
You're being recorded, okay? Just for information. So, yes, it's important to measure. Why? So that you know when not to stop. In my opinion, the biggest problem with DevOps is that people stop improving, stop striving, believing that they're done, that they're ready, that they don't need to improve further, because they actually don't have a way of judging where they are on their road to DevOps heaven or whatever. So, what does it mean to measure? Measure means to quantify something, to make it comparable, to find some hard data that does not depend on your gut feeling. Facts, right? Data-driven economy, whatever, fill in the buzzword you like. How do we measure DevOps? It's a culture, it's not a thing, it's not a box. So how do we measure culture? And the reason I'm here is actually to talk about this. How do we measure DevOps? And I don't know all the answers. I have some ideas. I'll be happy to share them with you and get your feedback and maybe also your experience. So, to measure something, I believe we have to find a representative. We can't measure DevOps directly, so let's find something related to DevOps that serves as a measure, that helps us to understand that we can actually count. That's why measure, we can count it. And from which we can somehow deduce the grade or the level of DevOps adoption. Now, what is the Holy Grail in IT? And I assume you all saw that movie. What is the Holy Grail? What is the most discussed, the most coveted thing in IT? Yes? Okay, your manager.
Lower costs.
Lower costs, another manager. Uptime, okay. Bit more techy. Guys, are you all developers or ops? Stop this business crap.
It's not time for this. Customers?
Yes. I'm very happy that after 10 years of agile foo, you all know the answers. But guys, you're techies. What's the most coveted thing in tech? It's root. It's being the master. In control. Giving the commands that don't need a question, do you really want that? Right? rm-rf/, that's root. And if it doesn't have an effect, then you're not root. So, I believe still in this day and age, the most coveted thing in IT for techies, coming down to earth, is actually having master control. or in Unix speak, root. Master control can also come in other kinds of flavors, like having the administrator account on your local Windows machine because you unfortunately have to use Windows, or having a login on the firewall. How many people of you actually have a login on the corporate firewall? Okay. How many other people in your company have a login on the corporate firewall? Okay. Who works in a company where more than 10 people have a login on the corporate firewall? Okay, nice. Who works in a company where everybody can change the corporate firewall and where more than 500 people work? Nice, one. How do you do that? So, that's the question, okay? Root is not just on your computer, it's on every server, it's the firewall, it's, I don't know, some other regulations on your GitHub, GitLab, whatever server. Who works in a company where everybody can change something on the GitHub server? So this master control is really an interesting thing, and the nice thing is you can count it. You can count the people in the admin groups, you can count people who have access, you can count people who log on somewhere, and so on. So it's a good measure because we can easily count it and we can automate the counting. But now comes the fun part. Root actually is not that interesting. When I joined a company some 9 years ago, this guy will be laughing now, nobody in the company had root in the server, on any server or on his own desktop, with a few exceptions. But actually nobody had root on the server. Can you imagine that? You come to a company, nobody has root permissions on the company's servers. I actually couldn't believe that. Nobody. It's called outsourcing and till the upper level of the operating system and so on, but yes, that's what I found there. And actually back then I realized that measuring root access is an interesting measure whatsoever. Because in all my previous companies, I worked either as a consultant or as an admin or whatever, and I always had root access and didn't need to discuss it. It was like the first thing I was being thrown. Here's root, do something. So that was an interesting experience, and the story has a happy ending. Eventually, root became irrelevant at this company as well. So that yes, this company went from 0 root access to 100% root access. And I believe that this company really achieved a lot of the DevOps stuff that we see, that we talk about. And that's why I'm happy to also use this company, Mobil Scout, as a reference, because we actually managed to pull it off. So this is an argument that the developers brought to kill the entire root discussion. Not my idea, it's a developer's idea. I even now still remember who was that. And the argument is very simple. Root does not do most of the harm in the company. Most of the harm can be done by a developer who commits code that is hostile, who commits code that is really crappy and can be hacked by any script kiddie out there. This is the biggest danger for the company, not root. Because as a person who is working with root access, you actually probably know what you're doing, or you maybe are awed by this responsibility, or you should be awed by that. And still, even if you do stupid stuff, it typically doesn't leak into the internet. Working as root on a server doesn't automatically expose that server to hacking attacks from the internet. Committing code that forgets to enable the authentication in the web application actually does that. So here's the thing, root is not that valuable. And if you talk about the modern world, I would say root became insignificant. It's commodity, it doesn't matter. And that's why you guys in the beginning said, well, value here, customers there, time to market, responsiveness. You all didn't mention root because for your daily life, root is not a topic. Became irrelevant. So you all are good with DevOps. Congratulations. Why is that? Root means trust. Back in the day, giving out root was a huge act of faith on behalf of the company. Faith in you as a person, that you act responsibly in this dark corner where nobody can look what you're actually doing. So it's an act of faith on behalf of the company. It's a huge sign of trust. It's this badge on the shoulder. Hey, I have root. I'm the master here. You might be the manager, but I'm the master. So this is all gone because now we have trust. Why do we have trust? Well, DevOps adoption leads to trust, right? The essence of DevOps is trusting people, other people who do a different job. For me, at least, that's one of the key factors of DevOps. So that's the reason why actually, if you build the right automation that leverages trust from being an interpersonal relationship thing into being, we all trust the automation. We all trust the automation to catch us doing stupid stuff. Remember my definition in the beginning? DevOps is if human error is equally possible for dev and ops. So yes, against human error, it's really difficult to build automation, but if everybody has the same chance, the same potential for human error, then this is a sign of DevOps. If you have a company where the ops people build stuff that prevents the dev people from being stupid, then you don't do DevOps. So, I believe trust means root doesn't matter. And automation is trust. Automation is trust turned into technology. Yes, go tweet that. Schlomo Schapiro is my handle. So, let's do the reality check. Who has root access on your servers? I believe that there are, it's more difficult. I believe that there are 4 categories, or 4 potential answers, how you can answer that. So one is easy. Everybody has root on their own servers. So if you have 20 teams, then each team has root access on their servers that they are responsible for, but not on everybody else's servers. Number 4 is the opposite. Everybody has root everywhere. Typical startup scenario. In between, you have only some ops. That's old school. And ops and trusted devs. That's old school plus we're doing something. By the way, MOV and Scout went through all of that. So, please, who feels at home with number 1? Okay, 3, 4. Help me to remember. Who feels at home with number 2? Great, thank you. Who feels at home with number 3? Okay, that looks like the majority. And who feels at home with number 4? Nobody.
Does everybody include the people from finance and HR?
Good point. If you do, you get, if it is the case, that's bonus points.
Does it include people from outside of the internet?
If you have aliens with root access, that's double bonus points. No, I'm talking about tech people.
Okay.
Kind of people who know what to do with code, more or less. So, what we saw here is number 1 is 4 people, number 2 is nobody, number 3 is apparently everybody else, and number 4 is again nobody or maybe you, 1 person.
No.
So, I posted this question on Trust the Internet, Twitter, and I got a probably not statistically significant amount of results. I have to admit, after about 3-4 hours, nobody was answering it anymore. So I guess that's the attention span you have with 140 characters. Now, I will try to interpret the results. By the way, you might notice that you kind of hit the jackpot. The majority of you have the same opinion as the people on the internet. So my interpretation goes like that. Number 2 means no DevOps yet. You're not in this draw. Number 3 is partial DevOps adoption. So if you all thought you're actually there, this shows that you're not. Sorry. Number 1 and number 4 is full DevOps adoption in my book. The difference is more like size of the company, trust model, how much do teams kind of trust each other, and do they care about this question whatsoever? So apparently in most bigger companies, teams are more like protective of their services, so they don't want other people to have real access there. And there's one answer that I didn't put, which is nobody nowhere, hands-off operations. Just let's ask, is there anybody doing real, true, honest, hands-off operations, large scale? Very nice. You also do DevOps, if I may say so. So, this is, in my opinion, how you measure DevOps. One of the ways. Root for all. Go, count, check a DevOps measure. You can read up some more details on this blog article, and you can find the slides here. They will also appear on my homepage eventually, together with this video. And now we might have some time for questions. And please tell me where I'm wrong.